Joining us now to unpack these figures and the implications, Chief Economist at Econometrix, Azar Jammine. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for speaking to us. As you heard my colleague there say, and some of the economists, that it was unexpected. This decline by 0.4%. What does it mean coming into 2022, a year where we've seen more frequent and longer stages of energy cuts?
I think the real danger is that this contraction in economic activity stands to continue in the short term. One is particularly scared of the winter season when the demand for electricity is set to rise by a further 4,000 megawatts. We're already short of around 5,000 megawatts of electricity currently, equating to the need to introduce stage 4 or 5. And if we have another shortage of a further 4,000 megawatts in a few months' time, you know, you're contemplating the possibility of stage 8 or even worse. The only way to overcome that is either to kill demand and demand for electricity completely, or alternatively to find some other source of additional energy, and those are not readily forthcoming. We've had to shut down half of Kuber for most of this year in order to do maintenance work, and the same applies to Kusile. So yes, by 2024 we may be able to start seeing more new energy coming on stream, but in the interim we stand to have a very big shortage, especially during the winter season. And the renewable energy projects that everyone is looking forward to coming on stream, well, that's going to take a year or two to happen still. So 2023 does unfortunately look bleak, and it looks very much as if we are already in a recession. In other words, if we have another quarter of negative growth for first quarter of 2023, which seems likely, then we will officially have been in a recession as we stand now.
And the biggest factor behind this figure I see is particularly the finance, real estate and business services industry that shrank by 2.3%. And I'm just wondering, we spoke about the energy shortages, but it seems we've actually added water shortages to the mix. If this persists, will we see these industries even harder hit?
This is the big danger about an escalation of load shedding, and we've already seen that to a large extent with stage 6. So long as we were in stage 2 or even stage 4 in a worst case scenario, we were somehow managing to just shut down and then restart. But what we are seeing with stage 4 to 6, as we've had for much of the past few months, a lot of activities are unable to restart, a lot of appliances get damaged, and the ability to just reconnect to water facilities is also impaired. And that's a huge danger. And you're likely to see more and more such knock-on damaging effects if we escalate. And this is what I fear about the potential for stage 8 by the winter. You know, the knock-on damage will be even more severe. And I personally believe that even looking for any growth this year whatsoever is now starting to look optimistic.
And just tell me, if we're saying that there were areas of light, I think that was in the transport, storage and communications sector, is it enough to take us off the ledge? Because I believe some economists are saying that we're on the precipice of a recession, while others say we are in a recession and actually have been for a while.
Yes, I think we have been in a recession and are in a recession. I don't think there's anything, any doubt about that. Yes, the one encouraging feature was that the one element of the economy that has been in sharp decline for the past 6-7 years, and that is fixed capital formation or fixed investment, as it used to be called, actually grew in the fourth quarter of last year and extended an improvement that had started being in place already early last year. And that gives one some hope that at least a small element of these huge infrastructural investment programs that the government has been planning over many years and been announcing, just a small element of it may actually be starting to happen. You know, it would be a game changer if we were able to implement all the fixed investment capital projects that the government has been announcing in recent years. If that actually came to fruition, this economy would fly in next to no time. We'd start creating jobs. We'd start being able to improve service delivery. What I'm suggesting is just a small element of that may have started happening. But you know what is a crucial factor impairing the ability to implement these projects is not only corruption and incompetence of many public service organizations, especially municipalities, partly due to cadre deployment, but dramatic escalation in criminal activity, theft of cables, sabotage, and construction mafia are inhibiting the implementation of a lot of infrastructural projects in a big way. And that is why the element of law and order is becoming ever more important. It's no coincidence we were grey listed 2 weeks ago, and it came soon after the publication of crime stats that showed double-digit annual growth. That's phenomenal. It seems as if the looting and unrest that started happening in July 2021 seemed to send a signal that the police and law enforcement in this country has lost control. And this has encouraged a lot of syndicates to actually climb on the bandwagon and to conduct their activities with impunity. Not a nice scenario. And unless we start tackling that in a big way very soon, this economy is doomed.
Azar, before you go,
the hope lies that we will succeed.
I need to ask this question. What are our gross national product figures and how do they relate to GDP? Because the observation by some is that our GNP has been lower than GDP, and that necessarily is not good news, especially if we're trying to get some sort of revenue, say, from remittances from South African citizens in other countries, and also the value of our own domestic products, finished or not.
Well, one of the big dangers of having such low economic growth is that your tax revenues are going to decline, and that in order for government to sustain the provision of services as far as it is doing and spending its money, it's going to have to borrow still more to be able to keep that going. And that in turn has a knock-on vicious spiral, because what it means is that in the longer term, we will have to borrow run bigger and bigger budget deficits, and the public debt will escalate, and the interest required to fund that public debt increases. That's why it's absolutely imperative that we somehow start generating higher economic growth to bring us higher tax revenue, to enable us to fund increased expenditure, especially to uplift the poor and destitute in the country.
Thank you so much for your time and insights. Really appreciate it. Chief Economist at Econometrix, Azar Jammine, speaking to us about the latest GDP figures.